So, good afternoon, and welcome to today's Uplift with Vision. I'm Reverend Jeanne, and it's my pleasure to join you today to just join in thought and connection, because that's what this is all about. And of course, we always begin in prayer. So let's do that. Just settling into the cave of the heart, right, where the divine resides, knowing that that is all of life right here, right now. It is the divine life that moves and breathes and has our being. All is God. All is God right here and now. And I am just so grateful for us to connect with each other, to connect with the divine in this time, feeling just the magnificence of this day, the magnificence of this divine life just as it is. I just call it good, for it is good, for it is God. And so I allow it to be. And so it is. Amen. So, we've been living in a time of great extremes, I think. Right? I mean, here we're all united in this experience of a pandemic, and yet we're so divided on the way out of it. We're united in our love of nature, and yet divided on how to care for our planet. And I could go on, but I'm sure you're well aware of just some of the discord and disagreements that go on around us these days. The depth of opinions and variety of judgments and declarations of facts. I just think we're swimming in a sea of pronouncements, it seems. So all of that has me thinking about the power of our words, the power of our words. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. The great poet Maya Angelou said, "Words are things." Words are things. They're powerful things. As religious scientists, we know that the power our words have. We speak our words in affirmative prayer. We state our affirmations with conviction. And we know that our words create our reality. I mean, even the Bible recognizes that power. In the beginning was the Word, right? God spoke and the whole world was created. That's powerful words. Ernest Holmes says, some words may have greater power than others, according to our conviction, but all words have some power. How careful then we should be about what kind of words we are speaking, right? That is the question. What kinds of words are we speaking to ourselves, to others, about the world, and about our experience in it? That's the question we're asking. I've heard there are two different kinds of people in the world. Those that wake up in the morning and say, "Good morning, Lord." And then there are those that wake up and say, "Oh, good Lord, it's morning." Our words create our experience, right? I just love the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And a quick plug, practitioner Marianne Tanaka is starting a Zoom book study, actually tonight, on that book, in case you want to join. But in the Four Agreements, Ruiz talks about the self-limiting beliefs that we develop throughout our life. Beliefs that become our personal agreements. And they make up how we think, how we feel, how we see ourselves, and our place in the world. He says many of those agreements or beliefs are based on fear. And that fear dilutes and depletes our personal power. But he says there is good news. He says by recognizing the source of those beliefs, we can break the agreements that keep us small and return the power that is inherent in each of us. Well, guess what his first agreement of the first of his 4 agreements is? It has to do with words. Be impeccable with your word. You know, our word leads the list because it's the foundation of creation, really. Ruiz writes, the word is not just a sound or a written symbol. The word is a force. It is the power you have to express and communicate, to think, and thereby to create the events in your life. It's a force to create all the events in your life. Ruiz says your word is pure magic, but he warns it can either be white magic or black magic. Right? The white magic, we know, our words can be healing and uplifting, or they can be divisive and painful. That would be the black magic. Remember, all of our words have power. Ernest Holmes reminds us, little do we realize that this word that we are so earnestly speaking is every word we hear, think, or speak. Do we who are endeavoring to realize the greater truths of life always govern our words? Right. If all of our words have power, do we always govern our words? Do we move in our lives with the full awareness of that power of our words? Perhaps I'm the only one that can declare a powerful affirmation of good 1 minute and then almost immediately afterwards refute it with some negative expectation. Okay, could be just me. Like the other day, I'm doing my morning spiritual practice of meditation and prayer, and I declare with great conviction, today I am guided, guarded, and directed by Spirit. And as soon as I get in my car to go to work, it starts raining, and my first thought or word is, oh no, nobody knows how to drive around here in the rain. I'll probably get in an accident, right? So what happened to being guided, guarded, and directed, right? It's straight to the fear thought instead. Fortunately, I did catch myself, affirmed a safe travel. But that's exactly what Ernest Holmes means when he says it's good to spend time each day in meditation, but it won't save us from the experience of our predominant thought, our ungoverned words, right? He says it's the 51% of a person's thinking that counts. It's easy when we're alone to brave the storms of life. But what of the rest of the day? What of the busy street, of the marketplace, of all the daily contact with life? Do we keep on in the same even way? Or do we fall before the outer confusion of our surroundings? We're still creating the word and setting it afloat in the great ethers of life. I love that, setting us afloat in the great ethers of life. You know, we can't stop creating. We are creation machines. And our thoughts and our words and our feelings are the gears that set our life in motion. So then's the question, what are our words creating? I once heard about a tribe in South Africa called the Sutus. They have a practice that I've tried to adopt ever since I learned about it. When someone in the tribe is sharing what they call a positive daydream, this would be a future picture with empowering images, what we might call an affirmative statement or a high ideal. When someone says that, the person listening seals the phrase by saying, and that's a healing story. And that's a healing story. Recognizing it, recognizing this I align with you, right? That's a healing story. And when a member in the tribe is sharing a negative daydream, right? And we know what those are, sometimes images, projections based on fear, right? This is going to happen. It's going to be terrible, right? Well, then the listener responds, and that's a story that doesn't need to happen. That's a story that doesn't need to happen. So that's a healing story, or that's a story that doesn't need to happen. Either way, affirming. I love that it recognizes that any words we speak about the future, any of our grand predictions of things, of how things are going to be, they're simply stories that we're creating. And they're stories that have the power to demonstrate in the future. It's like we're a genie with a magic wand, right? For our own lives. Just as you say, just as you say. And remember, our fears outpicture in our lives just as easily as our desires, because our thoughts and words create our experience. That's why we must be impeccable with our word, right? And I want to take a minute to look a little closer at that word, impeccable. You know, it's kind of an old-fashioned word, rarely used anymore. But the root comes from the Latin peccatus, which means sin. And the im in impeccable means without. So impeccable means without sin. Of course, as religious scientists, we don't view sin the way that some religions do. We understand it through its original definition, which comes from archery. And to sin simply means to miss the mark, right? Ruiz defines it this way: a sin is anything you do which goes against yourself. A sin is anything you do which goes against yourself. I like that definition. But it makes you think, how do we go against ourselves? Well, let me count the ways, right? When I judge, when I blame, when I lash out in anger, or condemn, or gossip. You know, these are all some of the many ways we go against ourselves. They're all forms of self-rejection, really. Because although they may be focused on others, they're creating self-hate. And why is that? Because we're all one. If I judge you, I'm only judging myself. If I blame you, I'm only blaming myself. If I vent my anger at you, I'm only reflecting the anger and pain that I'm feeling for myself. I'm using my words and feelings against myself. Yeah, that is sinning. And that is not being impeccable with your words. Ruiz says, we cast spells upon each other with our words. Our opinions and judgments color the world in ways that, you know, we just never really know. Just think about how we love to play judge and to convince the jury to agree with our opinion, right? and that's not the truth. That's just not the truth. I love how the Persian poet Sadi wrote, the world is not a courtroom. There is no judge, no jury, no plaintiff. This is a caravan filled with eccentric beings telling wondrous stories about God. Not a courtroom. There aren't judges or juries or plaintiffs here. It's a caravan filled with eccentric beings telling wondrous stories of God. That really is the truth, with a capital T, right? We're traveling together on this spaceship Earth, uniquely different, and yet divinely one. The challenge then is just how to learn how to speak from that knowing, from that truth, to speak from the heart, to speak from love. That's how our word becomes impeccable. Here's the advice that Ruiz offers. Use the word to share your love. Use white magic, beginning with yourself. Tell yourself how wonderful you are, how great you are. Tell yourself how much you love yourself. Use the word to break all of those teeny tiny agreements that make you suffer. Yeah. Use the words to benefit, to uplift yourself and others. Do you think that's possible? I do. I do. And so I challenge you to use some white magic each morning as you dress. I invite you to take a conscious moment, look into the mirror, and recognize your magnificence. Just take 2 minutes and speak words of love, love for yourself, out loud, strong and clear. Deal? Deal. All right. Well, let's ground these ideas in prayer, these intentions set up. Just join me right now, recognizing the power and the presence of the infinite, the divine, right here and now. I know that God is all there is. This day, this moment, it's a gift that God is giving to itself. I know there is no place, no circumstance, no experience where God is not. Spirit is that single ear intent on hearing our every word and always responding yes. And so knowing the power of my word, it is easy for me to speak my word of love and peace for all who hear my voice today. I claim right now that we are guided, supported, supplied. Our lives outpicture the unlimited bounty of Spirit in health and wholeness, abundance, joy. Yes. And I give deep thanks for the perfect unfoldment of this divine life, which is our life. So grateful for the opportunities, the joys, the delights of this life fully expressed in such a magnificent way. So knowing this is the truth of us, I release these words into the law with joyful expectation of its perfect appearance in our lives. And so it is. And so I let it be. Amen. So thank you for joining me today. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another Uplift with Vision. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.